Doing e-commerce now than going to your regular markets. 'Cause I really don't like going to the markets because of all the pushing and shoving and everything. So yes, are there plenty of people like that who, in terms of what age range do we have of people who use this more than the others?
Well, definitely when it comes to internet use, because e-commerce is deployed over the internet literacy would naturally be a function of the use. And we know that when it comes to internet literacy, we have more of the younger people, the people 35 and below using the internet, so they would use e-commerce more. But if you segment the e-commerce sector or e-commerce business, there are companies, especially brick-and-mortar companies, such as airlines, that sell their tickets online. So my father would buy his ticket online. So,
well, your father isn't within the age demography of 35 and below. He's
I'm trying to make a distinction.
Okay.
There is e-retailing or e-tailing, which is a branch of e-commerce, which is where people retail consumer items, TVs, phones, clothes, books. So those are the demographic of 18 to 35 fits well within that range. But when you talk about regular stuff that people of all ages use, like airline tickets, as I said, paying for school fees, then it's cut across board. So long as you can use the internet, you understand me, you find people using it of all ages.
Okay, can you just tell us the size of the Nigerian e-commerce market right now?
The size of the Nigerian, I gave you a statistic that's based on transaction numbers. So if you talk about the size of the Nigerian e-commerce, I would say about 75 billion. Is the transaction size of the e-commerce.
But definitely,
market.
For such an industry, it's also faced with its own share of challenges. Could you just enumerate some of them?
Well, first I must say that before we talk about challenges, we must talk about how far they've come. E-commerce practitioners have come a long way, especially as per even attracting funding, because e-commerce is such a vague thing for Nigerian investors, and for Nigerians to now attract funding from abroad, it's something major. So I must first commend the guys who are brave enough to go into this area of business in Nigeria that has a lot of challenges. So that said, as per challenges, we can look at first at the most basic challenge for business in general in Nigeria, which is corruption. Corruption is affecting every form of business because of corruption. You have to spend extra on security. You have to spend extra on so many things that normally in less corrupt climes they won't need to spend money on. Another thing is the contract enforcement and the rule of law. When people do business, if you are sure that when someone does something wrong, you can either maybe get your money back or you can seek redress. You see that area of business booming. So that's a general challenge for business in general. As per e-commerce itself, because a lot of people see, let's talk for example about e-retailing. A lot of people see the front end, which is going to your computer or going to your mobile phone and ordering for products. They don't see the logistics end, which is behind, where these guys have to actually source these products and deliver them to you. And when you talk of logistics challenges, you talk of power, you talk of transportation infrastructure, especially the roads and the rails.
Okay.
A lot of people don't talk about the rails, but imagine if Lagos was networked by fast-speed railway lines, or Lagos to Abuja was connected. You can have a lot of business transactions, you can have a lot of deliveries between that corridor. So transportation infrastructure is another challenge. So there you have it.
But then, e-commerce has to, like you already mentioned, when you were trying to define it for us, has to do with using your internet on your phones. Now, we know that the ICT sector is one very critical sector for this e-commerce to succeed. Would you say that in the last couple of years, this has shown any improvement, or has there been any growth, any mega growth? Because that's one challenge that I know that retailers who actually apply their ware online will face. If the customers are not able to get good broadband bandwidth to conduct these businesses, the transactions will always fail. Because if you start to do a transaction and it hangs midway because your broadband width isn't strong enough to carry through, then you probably will lose your money. So for situations like, how would you rate the ICT industry in terms of wanting to promote e-commerce here in Nigeria?
The ICT industry has improved considerably. You only need to go to Ghana or go to Togo or go to countries across West Africa to see that what we have in Nigeria is quite good. But I would say that the federal government has been doing a lot. The current Honorable Minister of Comtech, Communication and Technology, I've been at several forums where she has spoken. I've followed her on the media, and I can see that you see a lot of effort on her part and on her ministry's part. As per bandwidth, I would say that it's improving every day, and I would say that a lot of companies are also creative with creating platforms that would consume less bandwidth. So on the one hand, you need to increase bandwidth, you need to increase broadband, but on the other hand, you also need to be creative to be able to operate within the limitations that exist.
So who actually serves, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at who actually serves as a check and balance for these retailers who actually sell their wares online. Well, you're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television, and today on the program we're focusing on e-commerce in Nigeria, and I have here with me the CEO of Solomon Hunt Limited, Tobinna Okoli. Well, you can be part of the conversation. Just send any of your comments or questions to any of the links showing on your screen. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television, and we're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. Today on the program, we're focusing on e-commerce in Nigeria, and I have here with me in the studios the CEO of Solomon Hunt Limited, Tobinna Okoli, and that's what we've been looking at the last couple of minutes. Well, thank you so much, Tobinna, for sticking around.
Thank you.
Well, just before we went on that break, you spoke about the challenges of that most of these retailers face when they're trying to transact their businesses. Now, we know that some of them have chosen to, despite the fact that they're online, you make your purchases online, but they would rather have you give cash on delivery. Why is that?
Well, it's a reflection of what the market gives them. The first question is, why would people want to pay cash? It's not the companies saying pay cash as a first resort. It's people saying perhaps they don't trust the payment platforms online, or that those payment platforms are always failing, or the fact that even people have an affinity for cash. So I think these businesses are just reacting to what the market is dictating. So a lot of people would. And another thing about e-commerce is people, unlike when you go into a shop, you see the item you want to buy. People would want to see that item before they part with cash. So I think it's also a means for people to know that they are getting what they ordered, and once it's in order, they pay cash.
But doesn't this, go against that CBN policy where they're trying to ensure that we have a cashless system?
Well, the thing is, first, business has to exist before you talk about going cashless. If people are not buying